This is the 21.5 Show.
You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
Whether you're a professional pilot or want to be one, you're in the right place.
Let's get started.
Join professional aviators Dylan and Max as they talk their experience in the airlines, business aviation, and more.
Life is good.
Industry experts, unique stories, and plenty of fun. This is the 21.5 Show.
Here we go.
City to city, coast to coast, and around the world. This is the 21.5 Show. It's a show for professional pilots by professional pilots. It's Dylan here. I am solo today. Max is out making aviation happen. So I'm going to do the intro by myself, and then we're going to get right into the interview. It's an exciting one today with Dave. He's the Director of Instructional Design at Advanced Aircrew Academy. Pilots, if you've ever flown 135, you know exactly the pain that is felt to do that online recurrent training. When you're just clicking through slides, it can be mind-numbing. Advanced Aircrew Academy is looking to change all of that. They have a new training system. It's all scenario-based. It's interesting. It's got real-world examples. I think you're going to like it. We're going to talk to Dave about how they developed that and then talk a little bit about some of the general training philosophies out there in aviation today. I know you're going to enjoy this conversation, so let's get right into it. Well, Max, I'm excited to introduce Dave with Advanced Aircrew Academy. He is the Director of Instructional Design. Got a chance to meet Dave at NBAA and chat with him a little bit about a new product that Advanced Aircrew Academy is rolling out. Welcome to the program, Dave. It's nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
So, Dave, for many of us that have been 135 pilots at one time or another, has been probably one of the biggest, drawbacks to being a 135 pilot is recurrent training, right? You got to go to the simulator twice a year and you got to do computer-based training. And many of us have suffered through the random questions that come through and you just got to click and you wait for the time to expire. And it's just kind of part of the deal. You guys are working to change that a little bit. Can you tell us about what Advanced Aircrew Academy is doing to spice up 135 training?
I'm glad to be here, Dylan, but I guess my initial response is it doesn't have to be that way.
Thank God.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're taking a different approach to recurrent training. As most 135 pilots know, your initial training, where the FAA pretty much tied your hands. It's got to be very formulaic, A to Z on everything in 135 it says to teach. But when it comes to recurrent stuff, especially the ground, it actually has a lot of flexibility in there that I don't think a lot of operators actually take advantage of. It's basically as required. So what is as required? Well, I don't know. What I want to do with this scenario-based training is take advantage of that flexibility in the FAA regulations and actually go more towards the effective, that's with an A, realm of training. Typically speaking, all of your training is going to be on the, and I hate to get all instructional designy on you, but typically all of your training is geared towards your cognitive, towards the knowledge base. And all of your initial training actually reflects that. What we're trying to do is with a scenario-based training is to change people's way of thinking. If you look back across history, and I hate to really go, get into geeky instructional design stuff, but why does Aesop's fables work as far as a learning mechanism?
I'm guessing you're going from the known to the unknown, maybe?
When you think about it, why does Aesop's fable work? Because you're telling a story, and then it's like, well, you project yourself into this situation. Now, does this sound kind of like ADM?
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what it is. Okay, you're changing the person's attitude. And that's really what we're trying to do here with the scenario-based training is we're telling a story of a crew on a four-leg mission, a four-leg trip. And we're seeing the trials and the trails of what they have to go through to get this trip done safely and efficiently on time. And the whole point of it is to project yourself into that crew, what things they see, how they overcome these challenges, and then take away something from that. So that really is the biggest thing about scenario-based. And it doesn't really matter whether you're in the sim or in a format like this, like what we have. In a film, it's the same sort of thing. You're projecting yourself into the characters themselves. So that may sound really kind of psychological, all sort of stuff, and it is. But again, the objective is to change the way you think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Is that a push from the FAA, or is that just something you guys are doing, or both? Or what's the driver for the change into scenario-based training?
My perspective is that the driver is the accident rate. Take, for instance, runway excursions. Runway excursions is the top occurring accident in business aviation nowadays, and it hasn't changed. Why? Because people still just don't make good decisions. The data's out there, but they just don't make that good decision. The FAA can scream all they want to about it, but in reality, when you look at the way the FAA certifies training, it doesn't really match, because in order to get your training certified, the FAA inspector has basically a task list, a job aid, select where to put it. It's a checklist. They say, okay, does it cover this? Yes. Does it cover this? Yes. Does it cover this? Yes. But actually, does it cover the larger sort of, again, more on the effective realm? Does it change an attitude? You're not going to see that on an FAA checklist. It's just not going to be there. So despite what the FAA safety team says, it doesn't really jive with 135 required.
Okay. So you're saying that you guys kind of had a little liberty to design this, right? And so you're putting your heads together and you're saying, how can we make this recurrent training relevant and even somewhat, it sounds like, enjoyable? Can I use the word enjoyable?
Easy.
Okay, I won't say enjoyable, and I definitely won't say the word entertaining, because as an instructional designer, when I hear like clients come back with, well, can you make it more engaging? Yes, we're going to try to make it more engaging. Can you make it more entertaining? And my answer is expletive no. Your job is not to be entertained. Your job is to learn.
Right.
Again, it's mainly towards the younger guys.
Yeah.
Like, can we do more entertaining? It's like, I'm sorry, but if you really want entertaining, sorry, but go play Call of Duty or something. It's not my job.
So, okay, engaging. I like the word that you used, engaging, right? Because I think that's, in my mind, it was previously just very disengaging. I'm trying to watch TV,
entertaining,
trying to do something
but
else.
interesting, at least,
Yeah.
Yes. How we do it in our normal modules is we try to, we cover all the A to Z stuff, exactly what the 135 requires us to do, or BASC or IBAC or whatever. Whoever is certifying this stuff, we've covered A to Z, what the requirements are. Now, in order to make it engaging and interesting, what we try to do is put in stuff like ASARS reports. That's why they're there. Is they, okay, so we're covering now set or star, you've got the, climb via or the, descend via. Okay, well, we cover the content. It's like, okay, so here's an example of a crew that screwed this up. And, it goes to the narrative and everything like that. So it's like, oh, okay, so now I get how it can happen in real life. That's supposed to engage you. And we also have some stuff that has personal narratives from our SMEs that build this stuff that says, this is my recommendation of this happened to me. Dan in particular, and also William, have a couple of testimonials in the modules that kind of like, well, this happened to me and I was stupid. And hey, we've all been stupid. And let's face it, the only reason we're surviving right now is because we got lucky, okay? But that's how we try to make it engaging in our normal modules. Typically, though, when people are going click, 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 do they really want to go and listen to Dan talk about how he really didn't meet standards, 12 years ago, 15 years ago? Maybe, maybe not. Half the time people are sitting in their hotel room going click, click, click while they're watching something on TV. That's the reality. Seen it, been it, done it, been there.
Been there, done that. Yep.
The approach we have with this scenario-based training is we're trying to make it as engaging enough from a story perspective that you would have put everything else down and just do it. It's a challenge, really what it boils down to.
Yeah, that's a tough job. Dave, you have a tough job.
So give us an example, Dave. You say we're doing 4 missions on this. Right. Like, walk us through, like, are we making decisions? Are you quizzing us about regs? Like, walk us through what it actually looks like.
Well, I'll take the first leg, I should say, which goes from Teterboro to Chicago Executive, Milwaukee. And we got an issue where you've got some serious turbulence and icing over the Great Lakes. And so the direct routing from And also you got a couple of different things from a crew perspective. You've got, the quote, old head PIC. You've got a fairly new SIC.
That just wants to be entertained.
Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, you've also got a flight attendant that once she pulled into the parking lot, another guy went back into her car and did it or bumper. Okay. So you got that CRM dynamic going on already. It's like, and then of course you have, the director of maintenance is gone. So, oh, by the way, the new airworthiness certificate hasn't arrived yet. Where the hell is it? Blah, 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 blah. Things all that, those normal sort of drama things that we're used to dealing with every single day before you actually get into the airplane. So this is less really about regulatory knowledge when the crew does this leg. It's about how do we overcome these things? And as far as the actual leg itself, it's, how do we take off? You're taxiing out at Teterboro when you get a different clearance that that you expected to begin with. So now we got to do the route departure. Everyone hates that departure, I guess. I don't know. I never went into Teterboro, so I couldn't tell you. But the problem is that a lot of our clients have said, we hate the Rudy. Well, okay, fine. Let's do it to the Rudy. So they have to overcome that. They have to overcome not only the turbulence and, oh, by the way, the big system is over, even the simple thing of, oh, that's okay. We'll just swing south a little bit. Well, guess what? ATC already knows that, is swinging everybody to the south of it. So all of a sudden it just squeezes all the traffic. And so now you're having to deal with that too. Coming into Milwaukee, of course, the standard stuff there going into Chicago. And okay, oh, by the way, there's birds in front of the airport. How are you going to deal with that? Again, being very proactive. And we do a circling approach because it's almost a tail end. That balance back and forth. It's like, the decision-making process of the crew is they see, what do we do? We're seeing this threat out there. How do we proactively plan for it? Not only get the option A, but also the option B and possibly even option C. What do we do if this happens? Sort of thing.
So kind of what you went to say before is the reason like overruns are happening is because people are continually making poor decisions, right? So you're effectively throwing people in similar situations to hopefully affect their decision-making down the road in real life. And that's basically full circle. The goal here is, right?
You're spot on. I didn't fly 135 for long, but the time that I did spend in it, I learned a heck of a lot. And one of which is people usually don't point A to point B. It's it. Okay, well, what if the point B is, the runway's closed? Well, it's fine. The weather's good. Hello. I've been to places that, oh, by the way, you get there and what happens? Well, a Cessna 172 blew a tire on the runway. The runway's closed. Now what?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this?
That kind of flying versus like airline flying, a lot of times in the airline world, we'll know the runway is closed or it has one of the runways closed. And we'll be like, wow, why is there so much fuel? Why do we have an alternate for this? The weather's good. Oh, I see. Because the dispatcher already looked at it and figured all that out for you.
Right.
Whereas, 135, it's easy to not be as thorough as you should on every flight. And it's a lot more dynamic environment. So sometimes I think that this training like that you guys are providing is more important than a lot of people realize, especially people that don't do that sort of flying, like airline guys. Because it's a lot more things in the background that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. And it's all on you.
Yeah, it's all on you. Now, granted, enter like 91 environment where you're flying one leg that day, like you have the time, to pull up your iPad when you're drinking your coffee in the morning at home, and which is what I do, and look at stuff. Oh, okay. 135, sometimes, you're flying multiple legs. So sometimes you can get into flying an airline type schedule that fast paced, a lot of legs and a lot of flying, but you don't have the back end support like you do with the airlines. And so I think that's where that you can kind of get trapped and maybe not be as thorough checking NOTAMs or whatever. So the training that you guys are providing for 135 aviators specifically, I think is the most important segment that you can provide the training to because of what I just described. It takes discipline. It essentially comes down to discipline with your pre-flight planning. Everybody knows how to do it. You're not teaching people where to find the NOTAMs and how to read the weather. It's a matter of having the discipline to do it before every flight, no matter if it's one leg or it's your fifth leg of the day. And so putting people in scenarios that make you think about that maybe a little bit more, or bring it to the forefront of your thought process when you're flying is important. That's the stuff that indirectly can save people's lives, ultimately.
Very well said. My perspective, and then one of the things that I actually quote in this first leg is that old standby from 91.3, the pilot in command of an aircraft is directly responsible for, is the final authority as to the operation of that aircraft. A lot of pilots just don't understand the gravity of that statement. And if you want proof, all you got to do is just pick an NTSB report. Doesn't matter. Every single one of them says the pilot failed to do something. Every single one of them.
Yeah. That statement translates into the shit rolls downhill and you're standing at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
To every single flight, period.
That's right.
Yeah.
Here is a bunch of rope. Hang yourself.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I have to be coming from the Air Force environment where, and what we did, especially in my latter part of my career, you remember that line from Hunt for Red October? The Ruskies don't do anything without a plan. They don't take a dump without a plan. Okay,
Yeah.
well, same sort of thing with the airlines. I mean, you've got a whole legion of people there. A lot of bigger 135 companies have a big legion of people there to help you. Smaller 135, there you go. Good luck. Have a nice day. And oh, by the way, if you screw up, it's on you.
Yeah, it's crazy because I fly the airlines and I fly corporate too. And it's crazy because the difference between those two types of flying, you're still flying people and jets to places, but it's so different.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how exceedingly rare it is that I fly to an airport at the airlines that I haven't been to, like almost never, right? Whereas in the other side, like you fly to places you haven't been, that you're not familiar with, that you haven't flown the same approach 900 times. It's such a more dynamic deal. So,
yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me of that whole thing about like what the FAA was saying. They're like, they want to have one level of safety. And I'm like, no, not going to happen.
Sounds good on paper, but
yeah. Let's take a quick break from our conversation with Dave to talk about our friend Timothy P. Pope. He is a certified financial planner dedicated to guiding professional pilots through smart financial planning. Whether it's saving for retirement, investment management, a seamless military transition, or strategic tax planning, Tim is your trusted financial partner. Join Tim as he leads engaging discussions on personal finance strategies for professional pilots on the Pilot Money Podcast. Timothy P. Pope, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. All right, let's go back to Dave.
So Dave, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into being building training programs like this.
There we go. You better take your shot with you right now. So anyway, I was in the Air Force for 20 years. The majority of the time was flying the RC-135 out of Offutt in Omaha, Nebraska. And we flew worldwide, and what we did was electronic reconnaissance. Some people call that spying.
It's just listening.
Semantics, whatever. Okay. The point being is we went and actually did some stuff that was on the edge, I'll say.
On the edge of international airspace consistently? Is that what you mean?
You might say that. I can either confirm or deny that, right? But the point being is, yes, I have seen some thin flashes airborne that a lot of fighter guys are like, you gotta go, shut up.
Have you flown formation with other nations' militaries? Is that what you're saying?
I can either confirm or deny that.
You've never been in formation with a Sukhoi or MiG, perhaps?
I can either confirm or deny that.
The RC-135 is the 707 with the big funky nose, right? And all the stuff hanging off of it?
You're exactly correct.
Is that aircraft still operational?
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to me, some of these airframes. What has the evolution of that plane been to keep it relevant?
Three things. Number one, the fact that it's built like a 56 Chevy. I mean, when you look at the airframe of that thing, it literally is just a big steel tube that's been over-engineered in order to put all this stuff in it. And they, hey, we need another antenna right here. There it is. Put it up there. Hey, it works. So it's a very sturdy airframe. The second thing is they put new engines on it, CFM56s or F108s, whatever designation you want to use on it. Makes them very efficient. And the third thing is it has a refueling port. So my longest mission was probably on the order of 18 hours with 2 refuelings or 3. So we can go places and stay there. Yeah. Again, if we have a tanker to supply us, then we can stay up there. I mean, literally the only thing that's keeping us the biggest limiting, well, 2 things, fatigue. And the second thing is capacity of the lab. So anyway, after I retired, ran a collegiate flight program for 6 years. That was very interesting, not least of which one time we had a fatality. So,
Oh, wow.
and it's one of those things where if we had just finished our emergency response plan and exercised it a month prior, and then we had the accident. So when people start talking about, ERPs and just kind of blowing them off, whatever, it's like, I don't think you understand. You have a fatality, you're done. Unless you're prepared for it, you are done. Because I challenge anyone to tell me of a 135 company that has survived after having a fatality. Any major one, or minor one, I should say. What do? They go out of business. COVID. What happened to them? They went out of business. They reconstituted under a different name. Okay?
Wow.
And I flew up in Canada for a year for a mutual organization, and it's Eastern Ice Ride Truckers.
Yeah.
All those places they go to, we're going to Shimano, blah, 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 and the snow over the, it makes it really tough. Well, just imagine doing that in the summer in a Cessna 182. Same engine. There are no roads. There are no nav aids, by the way. And if your GPS starts to act up, guess what? It's back down to the old VFR flying. I mean, does that river go here? I don't know. And you're way beyond radar coverage. So it's like, that was interesting.
Wow.
It's exactly the environment I want to fly a single engine airplane in.
Well, again, you talk about risk management there. There we go. I mean, we had specific rules about, okay, unless we can, IFR, out. No, there's no
What about
IFR.
at night? Did you do it at night?
No, sir. No. Well, luckily, it was mostly during the summertime, so it wasn't a big deal, but night is right out.
Yeah. Night and IFR in that kind of country is about the same thing because there's no lights. It's nothing.
You're right. I mean, it's like, okay, so in the States, if you lose the engine, what are you going to do? Okay. Well, that field or that field or that field, that field. Oh, well, up there's rocks, trees, and water. Pick your pick.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to hurt.
Right.
They did some 141 stuff here and there, and actually they did touch and go at a FISDO.
Oh.
Dipped your toe into the FAA lake, did you?
Yes, sir, for 4 months, and that was eye-opening in lots and lots of ways.
Go
Did
ahead.
a couple of accident investigations. Well, first of all, I saw how they do business. And if you're wondering why the FAA is like, you don't have enough time today to cover all the reasons why. But if you're wondering why, on the one hand, the FAA is good for doing certain things. On the other hand, they're not. Because the first thing people have to understand is, like in an airline, they have a group, they have a cadre of inspectors dedicated to that airline. They have the background to do it. If you go to a FISDO, your typical operations inspector may not even have any 135 time at all. I did a little bit, but point being is that your normal operations inspector has a wide, huge portfolio, everything from like 135 operators to, and they could be a small one or they could be big ones. And then they have part 133, external load. They've got 137 ag people. They've got 141 schools. They've got 145s. You just keep on going. And and these guys are expected to know everything and they don't. So that's one reason why it's like, people are like, BizDo, we got a new inspector. He's like, whatever. It's like, well, that's why. Well, what do you expect?
Yeah.
If you buy citations and by the way, all this guy knows is Gulf Streams, well, he's going to have a different perspective than you.
Interesting. Well, it's a diverse career, Dave. I think you're in a good position now to build training for pilots.
Well, it is. I was going to ask you. So, as you're designing some of these training courses, obviously with a strong military background, I imagine you have some opinions on what the military does well as far as training and what they don't do well and what you incorporate. And then also, I think it's kind of interesting that you were involved in the university setting too, where I know Max and I were there also kind of instructing in a university. What was interesting about that is you can see a lot of students that are all sort of similar, right? They're all between like 18 and 23, and they're kind of all doing the same program. And so you can kind of make some certain observations from a fairly static group of people. But I was curious, like, how did those experiences shape the way that you design training now?
A lot. Some things I can tell you that the military does very well. They can take anybody off the street. They can put them to this syllabus that soup to nuts within a year, like with the Air Force. You could take an idiot off the street, and I've seen certain idiots going through there because I was an instructor in T-38s for a while. You can take an instructor, you can put him to the training program, and then a year later, here's your silver wings, and your next step is an F-16.
Listen, Dave, there's a saying, you throw enough money at anything, you can make it work, right?
Yeah, and then for now, it's about $2 million, okay? $2 million for the training. But you're paying that guy every single day, okay? On the civilian side, guess who's paying? The person themselves. Now, taking that and putting it into a collegiate, about kind of pseudo-military, the only way you have to do it that way, simply because you can't afford, because your normal 91 starts, 61 student is just going to go all over the place. Yeah, I can do this and that. I can no. If you want to graduate in 4 years with a CFI and possibly an MEI, you have got to have a certain amount of discipline there, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. When I first started at the university, I had a junior who still hadn't soloed yet. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this guy? Well, he started taking the ground course. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen anymore. You have to have the discipline. Otherwise, they're wasting their time. And, and having to have really frank discussion with someone that's like, okay, do you really want to do this? Or is someone telling you you're going to do this?
Yeah.
This is your life. Make a decision. I don't care which way it is, but make a decision. Otherwise, you're wasting time, and so am I.
Yeah. And a lot of money.
Yeah. And the 135, it's a very similar thing, because I understand the whole thing of you get someone in the door, you're spending the time to train them. I mean, it is an investment. It's a risk right there. Is this person actually going to be a good fit for us? And it doesn't really matter whether they have the background or not. You still have to do the exact same training, because that's what the FAA says you have to do. Now, 91 companies can just sit there and say, okay, we're looking for someone with a G650 type. Oh, you already do? You used to fly with that charter. Hey, come on over here. We'll double your pay. I mean, really, they've got it easier. They really do. The training perspectives are entirely different. And what we're seeing from especially the smaller 135 companies is the experience level of the first tooling pilot, the SIC. It's starting to show. And I've had 2 clients actually tell me, do you have something more basic? Well, if they have, okay, in reality, anything and everything in our modules should not be new. It's review. And I can show you on the ACS for the instrument, the commercial, and also the ATP, this should not be new material for you. So again, how to make it engaging? I took it and I took the test, and I really didn't understand exactly what it said the first time. And someone gave you a blue card with that. Okay. Really? Come on. You forgot it. I mean, I forgot more than most of those commercial pilots. No, but it's still one of those things where the demographic is changing, and how do we literally, if I had the time and the resources to do it, there would be like 3 different levels of modules for people. Some that are just, your little greenhorns here, and then the ones that had, just kind of getting back into it, and the ones that are doing it every single day. Because the ones that are doing it every single day, do they really need to know about the frequency range for ILSs? No, but they don't. They don't care. Push it into the system, go click, I'm done. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think most of us in the industry are coming to terms with just the fact that it's not going to be the way it was when we were coming up, I mean, it's just, there's a different group of folks, and that is just the reality of what it is. And so,
yeah,
I mean, what you're saying isn't wrong. Like, maybe we need multiple different courses here for different experience levels, because you got to meet the students where they're at, and got to be a challenge. And in a business where we are so used to, well, that's the way we've always done it, and so this is the way we're going to do it again. And that's why I think it's exciting for what you guys are up to, trying to create more engaging, interesting modules that are going to kind of actually develop the skills that folks need to fly out there, which at the end of the day, like you said, is making decisions. Because especially in 135, you can never cover every scenario you're going to encounter, right? You just have to have the tools to make the best decision.
So there is one other issue here that I think probably needs to shoehorn in here. That now flying is more about button pushing than it is stick and rudder. Am I wrong? I mean, is it
automation management, Dave?
Yeah. Automation management. Yeah.
But, you don't have to teach some, 23-year-old going in there. It's like, oh, here's the FMS. Some old fart like me goes, what the hell? And you start getting you pissed off. Some 23-year-olds like, oh, that, and they got it the second time. It's like, you just want to slap them. But when it comes to actually like, okay, do we make this when it comes to a crosswind landing, 25 knots on a wet runway, thanks, let me do it. Because they're like, I don't know,
Or
I didn't see this in a film.
Flying a visual approach.
Yeah, flying a visual approach, exactly.
Yeah, I see people just like, you're kidding. There's the runway. See it? Big, long
Just
stretch of
land.
concrete there. Yeah. Point the nose there,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, it's a brave new world.
That's right. Anything else, Dave, before we wrap up?
Yeah, what I would really have is feedback. Here I am sitting in my office, like panel office, but actually the new house, retro 1970s, if you're in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Do I get out of the Flight of Vail or wherever? No. Feedback. Give me feedback. And don't tell me, oh, that sucks. Oh, okay, it sucks. Thank you very much. Why does it suck? How can I make it not suck? That whole next level of stuff, really is what it boils down to. I can't do anything unless you tell me what's wrong with it.
So what's the best method for users of your training to provide feedback?
We have this thing called Ask the Instructor, single page. People who just go, hey, this is what I think, or whatever. This is a stupid statement, or this is wrong, whatever. That's fine. That's good. Another thing is just email their DO, because the Ask the Instructor should go to the DO, because some of those questions are not necessarily how our courseware, but how they do operations. I think that stuff that we have to, email in our weight and balance using this part. Dude, not my thing to fix, okay? It's up to your DO. But there are other things like, hey, this is wrong. Oh, you're right. Thank you very much for the correction, and we'll make it happen. So feedback. Feedback.
So in the future, these scenarios that you've got, they could change every few years too, and you can kind of build on them. And so it's may not be the same thing every year. Is it possible?
This is a 4-leg sequence. The video here that it's going to evolve over time. The next iteration of the thing is going to go 4 different places for 4 different things. Who knows? And it all depends on the feedback, and it all depends on, I hate to say it, but what the UTSB results are. If people keep, running off the end of the runways, well, guess probably going to be a scenario where someone runs off the end of the runway on a board, and someone runs off the end of the runway on a lane, or possibly both.
Yeah. Listen to the very end for some answers. I think it's exciting to see this. Max has shared a lot about AQP and the way that his airline does a lot of the training, and they're identifying the weaknesses, they're training the deficiencies, and they're getting a result. And this is kind of the same thing for the ground training. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't know, Max, should we go back to 135? Are you tempted to go back now?
Listen,
you're going to need a little bit more.
The thing I loved about 135 was the fact that it was always different. Like we were just saying, different airports, different stuff going on, different people. Like it was always fresh and new. It's hard to get monotonous, but no, I think I got enough flying to do personally.
Okay. All right. I've always said I want to do 135 trip a quarter. Would be fun.
That would be blessed.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, we certainly appreciate your time pulling back the veil a little bit on training philosophy and nuts and bolts of how it works. I think folks will be excited to check out your new program. So we'll visit in with you and see what the feedback is here sometime soon. Thanks,
Prepare
Dave.
to not be entertained, but rather be engaged.
That's right.
That's right.
Thanks, Dave.
Engage.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. All right, that is going to do it for today's episode. If you are new here at the 21.5 show, let me explain how we do it now in 2024. We have one episode with the guest, and then the next episode next week will be the mailbag and flight advice. So if you'd like to reach out and participate in the show, hit us up with an email, info@215podcast.com, or you can visit our website and fill out the anonymous form for flight advice there. And we'll be back next week to address all of your questions, comments, and concerns. Thanks again to Dave for joining us. Thanks to Advanced Aircrew Academy, Harvey Watt, Timothy P. Pope, Veris Jet Sales, and of course the Air Comp Calculator for all of their support. Thank you for downloading. Remember, flexibility is the key to air power. See you next week. The statements made in this show are our own opinions and do not reflect, nor were they under any direction from any of our employers.